we've been doing these quests, I think, every 2 weeks.
It's 2-ish.
Yeah.
Everyone's confused because it feels like 2 and sometimes it's 3, and it's been 7 weeks since the expansion launched, so it must have been 1 break and then 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So they've been dropping us little bits of lore. We've learned about what the Manifold is, and we're going to have a video on the Manifold and really all of this stuff through the next week and a half. You guys did a lore walking podcast.
Yes, that's going up at some point. I literally just have to do the thumbnail. So
gotcha. Yeah. So you guys did a lore walking podcast and all of that, and now we've got the third entry, and the third entry apparently is quite something.
Yeah, it literally tells us what Beledar is. Which, well, it tells us what...
Because of their assessment.
What Arcadis calls Beledar, or says Beledar is. Doesn't tell us everything about Beledar. So I guess we'll get through. So...
To get people up to speed, the first thing is there's the Manifold, which is kind of like the name for all of this like string of...
all the places we've been. You know the Uldorus, Uldaz, Uldaman, Ulda, Uldas. All the Uldas, basically all of the Titan installations across the globe, including things like the Engine of Nalak Shah, the Forge of Origination, the Forge of Wills. You know, obviously Uldawar's the Forge of Wills, but it also is the Yog's Prison. You've got Uldaman. You've got a bunch of these, and 7 of them were particularly important. But there's only like a few that we can think of feel important, but includes like the Chamber of Heart, for example, includes like the Vault of Memory potentially. Yeah. The Chamber of Heart's a weird one because it was secret and Arcadis built it, but Rad didn't know about it, despite being the High Keeper, who was second in command. So there's a wee bit of kind of oddness stuff there on that. But the Manifold is basically the catch-all term for all of this machinery, and it had a purpose, right? The Manifold was basically purpose number 1, to study Azeroth. Yeah. It was kind of, okay, well, we're on this hunt for the thing called the Prime World Soul that we know exists somewhere. We want to...
That's the other thing we learned.
Yeah. We want to figure out the greatest... We want to find the Prime World Soul and turn it into the Prime Titan. That's our goal. Back different from the days back when Azeroth was a Titan. Azeroth is now a World Soul, which they're going to turn into a Titan. The Manifold was objective 1 was to study it. So they go, is this the Prime World Soul we'll be looking for? And then objective 2 is, like the Forge of Wills and the Forge of Origination both do, is in different ways basically pump Azeroth full of stuff. In the same way the dragons were pumped full of order, juice and magic in Uldorus in Tyrhold, in Dragonflight. So it's that was like the earlier stuff we learned. We kind of learned a little bit about that.
So Prime World Soul, is that almost the Titans want to wake up their god?
Not their god, just their chosen one that's the strongest of them, basically. And they don't want... It's... Because waking up a god would imply that it would be superior to them in rank and in hierarchy. So I think that... and some of this is... this is thinking about it more than it being stated, because so far all we know is there's a Prime World Soul they want to turn into a Titan. So the thing about this is that I can't imagine Aman'Thul or anyone waking up Azeroth and then kneeling to her, because that doesn't quite feel right. It feels like she's an objective. I could kind of see that if it's we're making the greatest of us and we'll all bow down and grant you the crown. I don't think that doesn't feel like anything that makes sense here. You have to connect that to how Sargeras was infatuated with her, as it was described, and all that stuff. So the motive for what they want to do with her is a little bit kind of odd in a way. We're not super sure. All we know is that it might not be the best idea, at least not for us. Because obviously the Forge of Origination was the thing they were going to use to, they value the Prime World Soul over all of our lives. So that's like the ultimate showdown we're kind of thinking about. But that was the kind of they're putting all this stuff that was there into I guess I would say modern lore. They're taking it out of bits of Chronicle over the years and bits of like lore speculation that we've done, I guess, and different bits here and there, and kind of putting into this is for players now to see, to be reminded of, to know this is the things you need to know going forward, and then also littering it with new things for us to...
I think this is a way more smart way of doing it. So even this one quest we're going to talk about here, it's basically a series of holograms and VO explaining what's going on. I think that's pretty good, because in the past, and yeah, like this is important. So in the past, this would have been a random lore book, or it would have been stuff that you would infer from paying attention to all of the side quest text, which obviously doesn't happen. So this is definitely, okay, loads of people are still they're going to go in here, they're going to turn in the quest, they're going to get their pinnacle cache, and then all these NPCs are going to start talking, and they will just turn around and run out with their gear. But this is definitely a way higher, like, hit rate. Yeah, and at least there's some spectacle.
Yeah, and I think the thing I like about it a lot is that it isn't a replacement for the inferring. This isn't a pile of things we learned in the side quests that they're making obvious now. It's not. Obviously, I know what we infer in side quests isn't. You wouldn't consider that subtext, but in the same way, where a lot of subtext is now just text in a lot of places, this isn't them doing that. They're actually going. There's a lot in side quests as well, a lot happening beneath the surface, but now they're kind of bringing more to the surface in terms of what really is going on, what you should be paying attention to, which I really like.
To go into it, then we hear Arcades, who is one of the Titan keepers.
Arcades.
Oh my god. Oh, yes, Arcades.
You were pronouncing Valetna, I think. That's what it's rough.
Man.
Yeah, it's rough.
Oh, if I knew I would have re-recorded that. But it's the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's already done. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Arcadis.
Arcadis, right. So we see voice logs from Arcadis. At the Titan's command, Weekeeper has built the acclamation.
Began the acclamation.
Each installation, all linked to the manifold, produced vast numbers of Titan-forged workers. We fired the great forges, those are the ones we've been to in various expansions, I think from Wrath onwards, to fuel the acclamation and empower the manifold to heal the ravaged world.
Wrath and Kata.
Yeah.
It was the Forge of Wills in Ulduar around the Halls of Lightning, and then the Forge of Origination was in Uldum in Cataclysm.
So the acclamation, even that sort of suggests...
It's a proper noun.
They need... Oh, yeah. But also just the word.
Yeah.
They're re-acclimatizing the world to not being full of old god terror creatures. And then, yes, the manifold does the healing, which is what all of those different machines do. Yeah. Then we began construction of the Coreway, a direct channel to the heart of Azeroth that would allow the Titans to study the world soul without harming it.
That looks a bit bigger than what we've been down so far. It also looks like a cylinder, not a square.
Definitely thinking Illuna here.
Yeah, I mean...
This is all the same area.
Yeah, tree trunk. Look at that.
Ah, good.
It's a shape of a tree trunk.
The theory's not dead.
Oh, and look, there's a Val's runes now.
No! So, yeah, big pipe. The built big pipe to look down.
That's it. It's not
pop the manhole cover off, put on your high vis and your hard hat, and you go.
Literally just look down like, that's a world soul, all right.
I think about that Soviet boring project. You know, the one where like we dug a 21-kilometer hole and everybody tells ghost stories about it now. So he then says, however, as we delved deeper, we encountered certain obstacles, colossal crystals, which we came to realize were calcified chunks of the world soul's essence.
It's Beledar. Ish. Question mark.
They are of great power, and I wonder how many yet remain undiscovered beneath the earth all over the world. By the word of the great Khaz'goroth, the Titans' research has revealed that Azeroth's world soul is indeed the Prime.
Damn, I'm shocked. I was expecting her not to be. Imagine. There's no way that the center of our entire game could be the Prime world soul.
Insane. Our purpose may yet be fulfilled. So their purpose is, I suppose, quite obviously, rehabilitate the thing, wake it up as one of them.
Yeah.
So they then say, yes, crystallized chunks of the world soul's essence. Yet when we look at them,
big light void.
They look like Naru spaceships. And also, and I know it's a line that we discarded a few weeks ago, but Legion stuff has came up more and more. So there's the line whenever Khadgar, goes and does his reading. And it says something about Elune created the Prime Naru.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering if you've got some of this sort of crusty, shall we say, the essence of life calcified. I don't like this.
Yeah.
If you got a bunch of these crusty lumps that also look like Naru, look like Naru's spaceship, and there is stuff in the game canon that mentions, number 1, Elune, upstart goddess. Number 2, Elune, create Prime Naru. What's she doing?
So, it's kind of awkward. Elune's place in this is the biggest question mark, and I think the scariest in terms of where the story comes from, or where it goes, rather, I should say, because there's far too many connections to her. Where I think they are connecting her the most is in the Eluna here stuff, which isn't necessarily just, Emerald Dream, Big World Tree, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, we'll learn more about that when we dig into the Harrenir story later on, probably after the next patch. But one of the things that's, I think, important is specifically the Freya and, the ANR and Elune connection.
Yes.
Because they're kind of slowly setting up that the Titans were actually three factions in a way. They're kind of setting up the Tyr, Arcadis, and then Ironaya, the smaller one, as like the ones that are friendly to the mortals. Tyr obviously responsible for humanity in a bunch of ways, and responsible for the dragons. Obviously they were immortal at the time, but they were mortal. They were the life of Azeroth given form. Obviously he ordered them when humans and stuff are a wee bit awkward in their lineage from Iron, Vrykul, down to humans and stuff like that. There's inevitably Titan stuff there, but consider trolls and things like that, and they're all like friendly. That's like what I imagine the allied to us in the end faction.
Yeah. Just
because they seem like decent enough lads. And the Tears Guard are all about. There's Elune and Einart and Freya. Freya being the other keeper then, who is responsible by herself, without anyone else's involvement, to look after the life around the crater in Castle Algar, where we think Eluna here was. Or fairly sure at this point, because otherwise it's a massive, massive, massive series of red herrings. But that's like the Elune and Einar and Life is his own thing kind of faction. Feels like that. Maybe they'll be allies in the end, but they weren't working together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's not about the end game allegiances, it's like where they were at the time. And you've got your Tyr and Arcadis. You've got your all your obviously Norse ones. You've got Loken, Odin, Thorim, and Hodir, and they're all just like, whatever, it's fine. Outside of Odin being clearly the I'm in charge, Ra boy. Ra, who was obviously kind of out there, but it's basically Titan aligned, life aligned, us aligned, kind of in a way.
No, that makes sense. There being a little bit of division there.
Yeah.
Also makes complete sense if you think about the various source materials that they'll be drawing from for all of these godlike creatures. So there's that. There is another thing.
Yes.
It's different, but I remember the older version of WoW's lore had them split into the Aesir and Vanir.
Yeah.
And they were going pretty close to. Close to myth.
Even what they did in Wrath. Yeah, what they did in Wrath was obviously like here's the story.
Yeah.
Here's the story. Have it like fresh, but instead of Loki, it's Loken. Job's done. Which no problem. Obviously, we think it a bit silly now, but it worked back then. To go back to talking about the crystals of Beledar, I guess the question is like, we thought they were spaceships in Naru. What could this mean?
Well, the biggest thing is they don't seem to know, and they didn't know these were here. They just found them.
Yeah, which we came to realize, which means the thought that no, maybe I don't know. So.
Some milk in the middle.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of things I'm trying to order, and which order do I say these? And I think the thing is about it being like, it doesn't look like Beledar grew there, right? No. It does look like Beledar got launched into the planet and stuck in the crust. It looks like an arrow, like it looks like a projectile.
Yeah, and there's the story of the comet.
Yeah, there's a story of the comet. The falling star that they chased to Hollowfall was a falling star, not a thing that's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
Which then implies, but the Keeper saw it. Like, what if it fell there way before then? What if it fell way before the old gods? What if it is, in fact, bit of drumroll, the Chronicle 1 origin story of the universe, where light shot all these crystal shards everywhere to seed life?
Makes complete sense to me.
Where does and you see life as in, is it going to grow life in Azeroth? Maybe. But I've got a better one. No one's asked where a world soul comes from.
Well, it's the birds and the bees.
When a daddy world soul and a mommy world soul, yeah. No one's actually asked where a world soul comes from. It's just, the world soul's kind of there, I guess. Kind of there. We just go look for them and they're all there. But why do some have world souls and some don't? Why did Draenor not have one?
Just be like that, man, you know?
Why did Draenor not have old gods on it? But Azeroth did?
Because the world soul's the thing the old gods want.
No. I was not where I was going with. I was going with
I rescind my statement.
Old gods and these light crystals seem to be two sides of the same coin, which is imagine I don't know how you personify some sort of the being of all creation, maybe like the Bayonetta end boss, but you just grab a handful of pebbles and you just fuck them into the cosmos and you go, wherever they land, no worries. I feel like that maybe kind of happened with, at least in terms of the origin story of all these things. I feel like the world soul's probably, at least my current working theory, it'll probably fall apart in the next quest, to be honest, because this happens a lot. I go, theory, it falls apart, falls apart, shit. But I think when they say this is calcified chunks of the world soul's essence, I think they've got it backwards. I think that this is what birthed the world soul, or fed it, or made it look like what it is.
And to support that, I've got it up in Chronicle here. The most unstable energies coalesced in a... Oh, no, that's the wrong line. Yeah, there we go. The cataclysmic birth of the cosmos also flung shards of light throughout reality. These shards suffused the matter of myriad worlds with the sparks of life, giving rise to creatures of wondrous and terrible diversity. The most common forms of life to appear were the elemental spirits.
Yeah.
So primordial beings of air, fire, water, etc., etc. Many of these creatures were native to nearly every physical world. Many of them reveled in the turmoil that held sway over early creation. Occasionally, clouds of fractured light gathered and gave shape to beings of far greater power, or of far greater potential. Among these were the narrow, benevolent creatures composed of scintillating holy energies. There it is. I just read it in the book.
Yeah, it's just been there the whole time. Beledar was actually a primordial shard of light that created the world soul, or helped create the world soul, and it's being turned to void not because it naturally does, but because of all of the blood being launched about the place.
What happened? Metzen just kicked the door open. He's like, "Brother, I wrote this 10 years ago."
Yeah.
Pulls out his Chronicle 1. This never should have been retconned.
Yeah, so there's obviously old stuff about spirit, and spirit being lacking from Azeroth, and that being one of the reasons Azeroth was like under elemental chaos and stuff, and that could still be worked around to being the world soul ate it all, and that's why it's the prime world soul, because she got really, really, really hungry and really big. That's really where that could go, I think. As to what this actually means in the short term, I don't know. It depends on how far they dig into this in the next patch, and whenever we go to the crystal on the island, if it is Beledar or if it's one of these crystals. It depends on how much they dig into any of that as to what it is. Because I feel like the other part of this is we were so for the longest time, and rightfully so, because the game was as well, focused on individual forces. But Paul Alder's codex from the Arathi talks about single essences being unstable unless they bind, which means I think that from the forces perspective, from the I don't want to say the cosmological perspective, but it kind of is.
It's Pokemon rules.
Yeah, it's kind of just multi-types. It's just okay. Well, you're gonna what does light and life make? That's the thing that's important. Or what does light and fire make? Holy flame! What does void and ice make? Whatever else. I think that's going to be a little bit more of the focus going forward.
That makes sense with the Arathi, because if that's if that's their sort of academic view in the whole thing, but they all use holy fire to run all their stuff. It makes complete sense.
Yeah, but that's very specifically connected to the Lightwell. Lightwell, that's a holy priest spell. Sunwell, because what they're setting up very directly in how Liadrin was the one to ask Regal Hornfire. What's his name? Regal Hornfire, I think so. Liadrin and Salandria, who you remember as the Blood Elf orphan that the Blood Dragons didn't like. I'm sure that's irrelevant. I hope that's irrelevant. That'd be a weird thing to read back now.
Well, it's got to be. Fucking called attention to it.
So Salandria and Liadrin were there for a reason. And it was to draw a connection to the Sunwell in how the elemental energy and the raw energy collided and connected in a way. With the Sunwell being basically the same as the Holy Flame. And the Sunwell obviously being originally the Well of Eternity. Originally from a vial of the Well of Eternity, and then infused with light whenever, what's his name? When Velen went, Maru, be fixed, and then they jammed it into the Sunwell. Yeah. They're like, you're a great sacrifice, and then, oh my god, Adal. For a second, I almost forgot Adal's name. I was like, oh my god, I am getting old cheeso. When Adal was like, yeah, Maru, yeah, we saw us all coming. Yeah, it's grand. No worries about it. You're like, is that right, Adal? Is that fucking right? Did you plan this? You rancid. It's fine.
So I'm glancing through this bit of Chronicle 1.
Yeah.
It always talks about, Titans looking for world souls. I'm trying to find it overtly saying that they're the same thing. And I haven't seen that yet.
I don't think it does. I don't think Chronicle 1 does. I think Chronicle 1 was around the time we started to realize, hang on, maybe these are different.
Yeah.
Maybe these are different.
Okay, so we can then go and see what our characters have talked about. Right.
Nothing of value. No, there's a little bit.
Enormous, powerful chunks of World Soul essence. Do you think Beledar and Hallowfall could be one of them? Potentially, but it was never within scope of our edicts to study the crystal. He mentions the Titan Forge making the Coreway. Did you know it was built to study the World Soul? We were created for the great purpose of serving the Titans, and thus we built it. Its purpose was irrelevant to us. We fulfilled our edicts dependably, and we have strived to do so throughout the millennia, despite Khazalgar facing many setbacks. Setbacks? What do you mean? Long ago, the continents of the world split apart, and the machinery that powered our facility was damaged, cut off from the manifold, and yes, they were unable to repair it. That's why they're a bit cut off and isolated.
Because the Sundering happened.
Yep.
And they were suddenly an island. They went, shit.
So what I think we can basically expect is they will slowly develop this stuff, and by the time the third expansion, Last Titan, happens, we'll basically know. At the end of the day, Metzen did say, what are all those machines for at BlizzCon? So they're going to be foreshadowing.
That's the whole point. So there's a couple things about this being Nari related, and it's to point this home, I like to stay within the lore before I then talk about game things a little bit. So there's the game bit, which is, it was just called a Nari crystal. And I mean, no one's denying that, no one's doubting that. No one's suddenly saying, oh, it's definitely not now, because it looks like it, smells like it, it turns the void like it, it's got all the runes around it, it's the same shape, it's the same fucking name.
Yeah, the point here is absolutely, this is what the Titans think they are, and this is what we already know, because it fits everything way too cleanly. The runes are the exact same style as Oshugan.
Yeah, you don't see them very clearly until it transitions, but it is the same thing, and you don't call it Beledar, and that's one thing as well. So we're in a very world where, like Ian says, but it seems Hallowfall in general underwent a rewrite since BlizzCon. They were at there for centuries, and I think that was a clarification they made. I don't think that was. I mean, there's a slight chance they kind of changed that detail, but to change that detail and have it make sense with how Hallowfall looks. There's not a single thing in Hallowfall that makes me suspect that they were there for more than 15 years or so. Everything is kind of, they were there for enough to build some houses and build some farms, and then shit went wrong.
Yeah, if they were there for hundreds of years, it would have resembled something quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, so I would not jump to the conclusion that there's rewrites going on.
I mean, if it was hundreds of years, they would have explored more of the undersea, and there'd be more of a network there.
Yeah,
the world building doesn't fit.
Yeah, nor does the generationness of them all, because the kind of the connection to home and the power and everything makes more sense that way.
Yeah. So
Beledar.
There we go.
It's a thing.
Lore is developing. It will make sense over time, and I think they are They are throwing out lines to make us think. They are lines that are from the perspective of Titan Keepers. So you keep that in mind, and then you sort of compare and contrast with other things, which I like and think is fun for the lore. I know a lot of people do want it to be like very plain and simple, but even, I mean, looking at games that have got a deep, like a rich lore that people enjoy, like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, so much of that is reading things and putting it together, and not just like reading things as, oh, we put all the item descriptions down and now we know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of things lacking some, or no, I'm a big fan of things being relatively simple, but I don't like them being too simple. Whenever you're
elegant, not an overwhelming number of elements, but I don't mean that in an elemental sense. Like, you don't want a massive gush of details, but you do want details that feel like they're part of the puzzle box. Yeah. You know, that you can take different perspectives on them and that sort of thing.
I can't talk about it without spoiling it, but there's a game I've been playing recently that really, like, it was building up this big thing, and then they just kind of revealed it at the drop of a hat, and you're like, oh yeah, of course. But it was like, there's no him and her hand about it. It was just, and the thing you suspected is completely true the whole time because you're vaguely on top of it, and it's like, it's kind of difficult for a lot of games to get the balance right. I find of, here's a well-meaning story that everyone can enjoy, straight up, and here it is. It's told to you, and you watch it and you read it, and you're good. And then the bit where, okay, well, now you go and you stop every 3 hours and think about it for half a day. And I think that's how some people play games, and some people just kind of blitz and be like, oh, what was the plot, as opposed to what was the story. Yeah. In the same way, what was it? Is it the Green Knight? People were like, I don't get it and I don't like it, and then people who do are like, it's fucking amazing.
I'm Green Knight enjoyer.
I haven't watched it, but I'd probably be a Green Knight enjoyer for the same reason.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.